The holiday of Purim is one of my favorite holidays in the whole year. And on Purim, of all the mitzvot that we fulfill, the Purim Seudah is by far the peak of it all. Each year my family make a big Purim feast with our close friends. The peak of it all, for me, is the Purim Seudah, the Purim feast. Each year, my wife and my family, we get together with some close friends and we make a wonderful feast. Although throughout the year I seldomly drink much wine, on Purim the wine flows freely. And as we slowly get a little intoxicated, our boundaries start to fall away and our deep, loving, innocent, wonderful soul shines through. Last year, however, as we were heading towards Purim, things were very different. As you probably have heard by now, 3 weeks before Purim, I woke up in the morning and half of my face had become totally paralyzed. I found it impossible to blink with my right eye, and my cheek sagged, and I found it difficult to speak clearly. It was not an easy time for me. I also got the flu, and I found it really hard to get out of bed, let alone get out of the house. Thinking back, there were 3 things that I think really helped me. My family and friends, my doctors, and me coming to the realization of how lucky I really was. My family and friends were at the heart of enabling me to get through that difficult time. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a bit of a scary person, and I felt really out of place. But to my family, to my friends, I was just Gadi. Okay, Gadi with an eye patch. My friends had such a profound impact on me feeling good and positive about my life. I wanted to be around them, and they were just as happy to be with me despite what I looked like. Number 2, being in the rabbinate has its ups and downs. On the one hand, you don't make much money, but on the other hand, you seem to develop connections. So when Eve and I gave one of our marriage chavaras a few days into the onset of my Bells Palsy, Dr. Joel Cohen and his wife Goldie were one of our regulars. Joel hooked me up with a facial specialist who, despite his busy schedule, took me in because he knew Joel. Our GP, Dr. Elise Goldberg, she was one of the people that really helped our family with regards to support. She would come over to my house. She would let me come over to her house for some pro bono acupuncture. And more than anything else, she would do research and come and visit and tell us, don't worry, everything's going to really be okay. She was a real support for my family. And finally, my good friend Chad Waltz, he sent me to Bob Tishy, the acupuncture guru of Denver, Colorado. What Bob told me was that our bodies often react to stress that we are under. More than the actual acupuncture, what Bob helped me was understand and realize the pressures that I was under, and he helped me make a plan through it. Believe it or not, it was the morning after that I first saw Bob that I began to feel a twitch and feeling back in my face. As I reminisce back to those days, I realized that these are 4 ideas that are hidden in the mitzvot of Purim. On Purim we have 4 different mitzvot. We have Mishloach Manot, the idea of giving gifts to friends, Matanot Le'Evyonim, charity to the poor, the Purim feast, and the reading of the Megillah. Now, Mishloach Manot, giving a gift to a friend, that is for us to show to our friends how much we care. Charity to the poor, it doesn't necessarily always need to be actual charity. It could be advice. It could be connecting someone with the person that you know. It could be helping someone out in a difficult time. And then we have the the Purim feast, the celebration that we are alive. Until then, I did not appreciate how important and how powerful and meaningful my eye really was. It was only until I had lost that ability of closing the eye, closing the eyelid, that all of a sudden, if you leave your eye open for too long, it gets dry. And actually, permanent damage can actually happen to that. And finally, the reading of the Megillah. When we read the Megillah, what we are able to realize is that the energy of Purim, the energy to change ourselves and to create a new, wonderful person comes back again. The book of Esther tells us about the hidden hand of God and how when we look through the mask of nature, we're actually able to see God in our lives. As we head towards Purim, I ask you too, is there a friend that needs your help, that needs your friendship? Is there someone who doesn't have the connections that you have, that may be able to use them? Are we appreciating our body and are we looking after it? And number 4, do we look for and do we find the hand of God in nature? It's there. We need to look for it. Let's look for the hand of God in nature. Purim Sameach.